Hi friends! Today we're taking a look at the Kett Fixx Powder Foundation. Before we get into the details, however, hi! I'm Alicia. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things, all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. Timestamps will be down below if you want to go straight to the swatches. Follow that timestamp right there or click on any of the chapters here on the time bar. A huge thank you to Muse Beauty Pro for sending me these products in PR. This is a resurgence, okay, because this originally released on March 12th of 2018. And a huge shout out to Nicole, who held an interview with Alphonse from Muse Beauty Pro and Sheila McKenna from Kett Cosmetics. Sheila is a professional makeup artist who created the brand back in 2000, but I thought a compelling interview that you could actually find on kinkysweat.com, where she encountered this huge surge of HD TV. And before, when you were a professional makeup artist on set, yes, you did TV, movies, and camera, but that lens wasn't picking up the texture. Okay, therefore it was a lot more forgivable in terms of how you looked on screen or on a photograph. Now with the introduction of HD, you see every pore, every little ting, okay? And therefore the makeup had to be ultra undetectable, but still at the same time provide impeccable coverage. So Sheila took it upon herself to create this makeup formula that will deliver those expectations, which I couldn't even imagine how difficult that was, okay? So therefore, Kett Cosmetics is known in the pro community to be an industry gold standard when it comes to HD makeup, just looking completely flawless so that the wearer's skin still looks blurred even with this HD technology, okay? And they're also best known for their airbrush makeup. So Kett Cosmetics is a complete line of foundation products that you could take a look on Muse Beauty Pro's website where they carry it. And as I mentioned before, they're best known for their airbrush makeup that just leaves behind a beautiful soft focus finish that is incredibly ideal for HD. Given the context for Kett Cosmetics and what their role is in the makeup industry, specifically the pro sector, you are probably wondering why they were launching again. When Sheila was creating Kett Cosmetics in the 2000s, there was no marketing, there was no Instagram, there was no YouTube. This is all noted in the article. So everything was grassroots in terms of word of mouth in getting this product out there and into professional hands. So the word can spread quickly in finding this makeup that looks beautifully flawless through an HD lens. And perhaps that is why they are relaunching the powder foundation in this new frontier that is social media. There are makeup brands that are labeled a social media makeup brand because that's where they started, on Instagram. Whereas there are a lot of makeup brands that came out way before that pop of Instagram, where you knew about makeup because of your colleague, of your friend, of a family member that just loved said product, and you then had to try it. And I'm thrilled and honored that Muse Beauty Pro wanted to collaborate with me on this campaign, because I love to learn about makeup that is not in my usual roundhouse of brands, and specifically pro makeup, because I think pro makeup and pro artists have such a rich story and a strong why as to why they create certain products. And because of that HD reason, you know, Kett Cosmetics is well sought after many professionals and, dare I say, consumers who want that flawless skin, but the makeup application looks undetectable. Therefore, allow me to introduce once again the Kett Fixx Powder Foundation. Muse Beauty Pro was nice enough to send me all 12 shades, and just a quick context roundabout, 12 shades of the powder foundation are taken from the most popular foundation shades, I believe from their Hydro Foundation line, and I think they're also pulled from the most popular shades found in their Cream Pro line as well. Some quick pricing for you. You could either get the compact that I previously showed, and they have both compact and refillable pans. So the single compact is for the consumer who is only looking to find one or two shades all over and maybe some bronze or contouring moments. The compact retails for $34. We're looking at a shelf life of 24 months. You get 10 whopping grams of product. This is made in the USA, and all products, all powder foundations that is, are cruelty-free and vegan. The powder foundation refills retail for $22, and those also come in at 10 grams each. each. You could purchase the empty palette at $22 and customize how you like, or they have preset pro palettes, light to medium and tan to deep, and those palettes retail for $140 each. I have my notes here from watching Stephanie Nicole's interview, and I will definitely link that down below if you wish to watch it as well. Wish to watch it. The outstanding characteristic about this formula is the fact that it is made with shea butter infused mica. Now, I believe that is very different from just shea butter and mica being in the formula. I believe these two ingredients are integrated before they find themselves in the actual formula, so that was intriguing. That yields a more natural luminous finish, because typically when you think of seeing counter powder foundations, you could think dry, you could think dull, right? Because a powder versus a liquid, powder naturally will absorb more oil, whereas a liquid will not, and therefore if you're on the drier side of the spectrum, those tend to gravitate towards the more dewy, liquidy type of a cream finish. But because the Kett Powder Foundation is made with the shea butter infused mica, you will still have a natural reflectivity, Sheila says, on camera or on photographs, very luminous in finish and not drying and dull. And I think that's one of the distinguishable characteristics for this powder foundation, the Kett one specifically, in comparison to others we might have encountered. They call it a hydra matte finish. I like that. The coverage is anywhere from sheer to full. So despite this being a powder foundation, it's actually quite versatile in terms of how you can use it. You could use it to set another foundation if you want a little more coverage. You could use it for the foundation base itself. You could also use this for a little bronzering. You could use this for bronzer or contour depending on what shade you like and what have you. And I'm also not saying you have to get 5 shades, okay? Maybe you want to buy this solely for bronzing and contouring purposes because shades you've encountered in the past just did not align with your complexion, or perhaps you want a little more coverage just from your bronzer step. Naturally, I believe these will have a little more coverage than your typically formulated bronzer. So if you're looking to get a little more coverage here on the hollows of the cheeks, then you can certainly just buy this for that role. And of course, as Alphonse stated in the interview, depending on the tool that you use with this product will determine the type of coverage. So something a lot more loosey-goosey, if I will. Muse Beauty Pro was also very generous to send their T59 brush. This is synthetic fiber, and judging from how fluffy the bristles are, this brush therefore will lay down lighter coverage, more on the sheer side, versus the X57, more of a traditional buffer brush. This is natural goat hair, I believe, and this therefore will pick up a lot more coverage, a lot more powder, and therefore will lay it on a bit heavier. And the fullest coverage will be done with a sponge. This is the Esom sponge. It's flat on both sides, and it is recommended that you use the sponge dry with a powder product, and therefore that will leave behind the most coverage. And again, in terms of the shades, we have 12 most popular shades from their Hydra Foundation line. And Kett also has their Kett setting powder, which is different because it's translucent. It doesn't have any coverage. Therefore, the Kett set is formulated for just setting your foundation, whereas you most certainly can use the Kett powder foundation to set your foundation, but you will add a little more coverage because of that. A few tips mentioned in the interview is if you happen to have the Kett Hydra Foundation, because it is water-based, you would choose a shade lighter from the shade you already have in the Hydra Foundation for the powder foundation, because if both shades are the same and you layer the powder foundation on top of the Hydra, it will deepen the complexion. So if you want to stay a little more balanced, then you would go a shade lighter in the Kett powder foundation from the shade you have in the Hydra. If you have the cream, however, you could do the same because that is waterless and therefore will not change the color as much. If you want to err on the side of caution, then you could get a lighter shade in the powder foundation. But Sheila has said that you'll be good to buy the same shade in the cream finish as well as the powder foundation finish, and the complexion remain the same. I had tried these already and I labeled them because I have a few shades here that could work all over, or they could work as bronzer or in contouring. Also, I have some product knowledge here that I think is impeccable because we went over, of course, what tools to use this with, what the powder foundation was meant for in terms of formulation, and again, because of the shea butter infused mica, this formula is very much appropriate for dry skin. But they recommend, however, that you always prep the skin well. So if you are on the drier side of the spectrum, that you would prep with an emollient moisturizer to make sure the skin is ready for that powder. They also provided a shade selector where they list MAC Studio Fix powder, the powder match here, shades on that side, and then you have the Kett shades on the other, just so you could get an idea of which one you would be. It seems that the olive undertones are very unique to Kett, and they note that where, for instance, 05 medium to tan skin with olive undertones doesn't exist in the MAC Studio Fix Powder Foundation list, but I know Nicole has a PDF. Maybe she would have posted that in her description box under that interview of other Kett foundation shades as well. So if you want to take a look at that, I'll make sure to include that in the DB. It says here, this Ultra Luxe finely milled powder brings a new dimension to skin. Featuring a soft focused modern matte finish, this powder leaves skin looking polished and fresh. Professionally tested and designed to perform seamlessly for film photography and effortless daily wear. Achieve customizable adjustable coverage from sheer to full with this weightless non-drying formula enriched with antioxidants and nourishing shea butter. From foundation, touch-ups, bronzer to shading, this powder provides seamless coverage with the flexibility to create endless looks. In addition to the 12 shades ranging from fair to deep, we are looking at 3 undertones: olive, ruby, and neutral. The 2 shades that I thought were most ideal for my complexion were N5 and N5 and 05. N4 was a little too light all over my face. I probably could get away with it on the center, but because now we're rolling into the swatches in the try-on, well, why don't you come in a little closer? That's enough. N4, medium skin with neutral golden brown undertone. Now that I'm looking at it, I think before when I apply this, I was like, wait a minute, maybe that's too light all over the face. It basically disappears, so perhaps this might be my shade. Again, I think more appropriate on the center of my face, but the texture is just beyond smooth, and you can detect some of that luminosity, that there's a little bit of a sheen there when you blend it out, and I think that's because of the shea butter. And the MAC Studio Fix Powder Foundation match for N4 is C30. Next up, we have 05, medium to tan skin with olive undertones. This is also said to be uniquely Kett. There is not a MAC powder foundation that matches up. It is very much unique because I definitely detect the olive, but it doesn't look crazily green. N5, tan skin with neutral golden brown undertones. And the MAC Studio Fix match for N5 is C40. This is definitely deeper, but when I apply this all over, as you will see, I'll apply 05 and N5 on the other side. And 05 worked. It just gave me, it gave me a tan. It did. Next up, we have N6, golden bronze skin with neutral golden brown undertones. And again, that's 05, and I think you could probably detect a little more of the olive there. And the Studio Fix match for this is NC50. N6 for me works for an impeccable bronzer shade. It's not super deep. It's just enough to give me that warmth on the skin. We have N7, which is probably the deepest I would go in regards to any bronzing or contouring I wish to accomplish. Deep golden bronze skin with neutral golden brown undertones. And the Studio Fix match is NC55. So this is my range from the Kett Cosmetics. I didn't dip into the others because I was contemplating maybe doing a giveaway or not dipping into these because I didn't want to contaminate them. And although, yes, you can see the swatches on me and try to figure out, I didn't want to waste these. I'm still kind of thinking about how I want to utilize the lighter shades or perhaps find a match in my friend base, you know what I'm saying, to give them away. The lighter shades beyond N5 as well as N9 and N11. So N4, maybe N4 might be, well, I'm on the fence because when I apply this all over, it looked very light all over. So when I turn head on, you see how it might be good for the center of my face, but for the outer perimeters, maybe a little too light. Next up, we have 05, which is more of the olive. The olive works. I know it looks crazy deep there, but depending on the brush that I use, evens itself out. It finds its way. And 5 is the more golden. And I think N5 is probably because N5 is the neutral golden undertone, whereas 05 is the olive. Applying some Soon Jung 2x barrier cream. I have moisturizer on. I just want to put a little bit more because I'm feeling a little, you know, dry. And also my PIH is healing, and because of that, it tends to get a little scabby, a little dry around those areas. Let's first go in with N number 4. Because it's a little lighter, I'm actually going to go in with my X52 brush found in my collab, which is no longer available, but I'm really happy I collaborated with these, okay? Placing it on the inner part of my face, and you see it's perfect for this portion simply because it's going to maintain that tone, not darken it, keep it bright, but have really nice coverage. And more importantly, not look flat. So you see, because the natural light is coming through my window, the skin still has really nice luminosity to it, and it feels soft. It feels like velvet. It doesn't feel like I have powder on my skin, which is a really nice texture to leave behind. Now going in with the X57 brush, but with 05, the olive tone picks up a lot of product. I'm going to start on the outer portion of my complexion, and it definitely has warmth, but you know, I'm not mad at it because, well, I haven't really been tanning even pre-quarantine just because of, you know, sun damage and my PIH, not wanting it to get darker. You know, this is a nice shade to, I think, come into when I have a little bit of sun. Unfortunately, that does come with damage, or, you know, if I was self-tanning. This is kind of what I will be going for. So this is, again, N4 on the center. We have 05 on the outer perimeters. We got nothing on this side. We got the N4 here, but, you know, here is looking pretty, it's looking pretty lonely. Now N5 is the golden neutral, or rather the neutral brown golden. Place that here on the outer perimeters. And yeah, you could definitely see more golden versus a lot more neutral here with the olive. Forehead. Get it on the edge of the brush here to pull it close to my brow. All right, so here is 05 with a little bit of N4. And here is N5 with a little bit of N4. I like both. I definitely can detect that there is a little more golden here from the N5 side. And let me double check to see these undertones. Yeah, N5 is a neutral golden brown, whereas the medium tan 05 is just olive. But the olive on me definitely brings me a little more neutral, versus N5 is giving me a little more golden. If we were to go in with the sponge, let me stay on the N5 side for now, pick up some product, and just go over the parts that need more coverage. I'm being very light here. But even though with the sponge, and despite it being a powder, I don't know if you can just see any powder at all, or it looked like I applied powder. And I applied quite a bit. Hey mustache. Even over my scabbing, it doesn't look like there's powder over it. It doesn't look caked up and like a mountain of product. And with 05, going in with the sponge now on this side, to take care of the portions that need a little more coverage. And although you can see that I have marks here, the skin still doesn't look dry, nor does it feel dry. The skin actually feels very velvety soft, but the complexion does not look dull at all. With the T59, I'm going in with both. And do like a final whip around. Oh, this is a nice brush. I love me like a painter type of a brush that's just whack on your skin. Also, I'll use this brush to apply, I believe it's N6 as a bronzer. I could go back in with N4, same brush, if I just want a little bit of brightness here, especially on the center of the forehead. Both shades work. I think you have to decide if you want to look more golden versus more olive. If you have strong olive undertones, unlike me, I'm like in between. I'm neutral, but I'm a little bit golden. Dare I say I'm like a little pink too? So if you don't know for sure, maybe if you're more golden, then I will go with N5. If you're definitely olive, or if you're neutral, maybe go with 05. And if you're a shade lighter than me, like half a shade lighter than me, then I will definitely go with N4. But here's a close-up of the skin. I'm going to turn down the exposure just so you can see the skin. Now, I do have hair. I don't shave. So no matter what, I think that's just going to, you know, make itself known. But in terms of the texture and just how my skin feels, the fact that it does not feel heavy, it doesn't feel like dry. I don't feel like I have powder on my face, which is remarkable because these products are used on HD lens situations. And for a powder to not pick up texture, or if you see this powder in action from the other side, that you still just see skin and not makeup, I think is the point of this formulation. Now with N6, same T59 brush, just lightly right there. Ooh, this is a nice color for bronze. I like this one for bronze. A little here on the forehead as well as the jawline. Now N7 I have to be really careful with because it could be very heavy on my hollow, so that's why if anything I would use a lighter brush if I were to apply N7, or I wouldn't apply it on top of N6. I would just apply it alone if I wanted to go more of a sculpt route. Allow me to interrupt myself as I wanted to quickly show how I can also use N7, but first I set up the complexion with the Kogen Do Aqua Foundation in 143, which leans more towards the lighter side for me, so that's when I go in with N4 on the center of my face here with my Shiseido KK001 powder brush. But to balance out my complexion, I then went in with 05 just on the outer perimeters of my face, and you see how that brings in a little more warmth. And as you just saw, N6 is a beautiful bronzer shade, but if I wanted to apply N7, I use a very soft powder brush. This is the Shiseido, I believe it's from their Takumi series. Because it is all squirrel hair, it's not going to pick up as much product, but as you see, it lays down the perfect amount, gives me bronze but a little bit of sculpt too because of the undertone. I did not yet apply concealer, and I apply the powder first. Let's see how that will go. And as suspected, even though I applied the powder first, everything is melting together. The powder is not sabotaging the blend whatsoever. It's not making it look cakey, uneven. And 5, however, I could apply on the crease of my eyes. And, you know, I'm not saying that you need a whole powder foundation to, you know, use on the crease, but I think if I were to get a little more tan from self tanner, then N5 will probably be my bronze shade. But this is such a nice color, but it's like a true warm brown. And again, the undertone profile is deep golden bronze with neutral golden brown undertones, which I think so pretty. I mean, you don't have to go under the eyes like I did. I just like to look a little hazy. Taking some N6 and just striking it across the lid. Taking some N4 and just using that on the inner corner to add a little bit of brightness there. I could place some also on the brow arch as well as on the center of the nose. And technically you can use the powder foundation for setting if you wanted a little more coverage under the eyes. After you applied your concealer, I can apply N4 over the Shiseido gel stick that I applied prior, and it sets it beautifully without it looking heavy. And again, depending on the brush that you use, if you don't want a lot of coverage, then you wouldn't use a heavy, tightly packed brush. You would use something long bristled, a little more airy in feel, and therefore will yield a much lighter finish, very sheer in coverage. But I also enjoy N4 just for its ability to brighten a little bit on my skin tone. So if you're wondering if you wanted to go from where I am and from where you are, if you wanted to go a little lighter, yes, you will go with the N4. But if you're my complexion and you thought 05 and N4 was a little too deep, not to say that you have to buy both, you could always use your concealer or maybe another foundation of choice that's a little lighter than 05 and N5, but you use that first and then you use those shades to bring in a little more warmth on the perimeters of your face. And with the fluffier brush, I'm going back in with N6 and almost like a blush. I applied more on the hollows with the T59, but relying on this shade now to just get in a little more warmth on the cheeks. Just gonna apply a little mascara. And here's some close-ups of the Kett Powder Foundation in all the shades, and you can clearly see, despite us applying several layers with different brushes, my skin still looks like itself. It doesn't look overly caked up, especially because we are using a powder product. Despite that, the coverage is undetectable. The texture is very lightweight, and I think more importantly, I don't feel like I have makeup on my skin. I feel that it's still breathing. I know skin doesn't have lungs. That's what the lungs are for. All right, that's where the breathing occurs. However, metaphorically, my skin doesn't feel suffocated. It feels like it still has some circulation there. Again, we applied a lot of powder. We applied the N4 first and the N5 on one side, the O5 in the other, and combined them both. And then we applied some N6 with the T59 and then with my Shiseido brush, and then we applied a little bit of N4 under the eyes over the Shiseido gel stick. So there was some moments, okay? And despite that, again, I love how my skin feels. It doesn't feel like I'm brushing my fingers against a powder product. It feels very velvet soft. It feels smooth. And I'm not a huge wearer of powder foundation, but I'm thinking about using it more simply because it's just easier. I find that a liquid foundation warrants the most commitment because if you apply it on the back of your hand or you apply it on a sponge or on a palette, then you would have to clean something. Either wipe the hand or wipe the sponge or clean the sponge, really. Well, it is highly recommended that you clean your sponge every time you use it. I know a lot of people don't do that. And if you're in a rush, you just leave things a mess, and that's fine. That happens to me a lot. If it's a stick foundation, and if of course you're using it on yourself, you just go and then you blend and go. Whereas if you were a pro, you would probably have that stick foundation in like a kit or something and not held individually because that's not sanitary, I know. But since I'm in the context of self-application, you're not sharing these makeup items with others, the powder foundation just has a more desirable experience in regards to grabbing a brush, plopping it in the pan, buffing it in, and you're done. I align with that timeline is all I'm saying, especially when you're in a rush, but to know that the formula that you're dealing with is going to leave behind a beautiful finish on the skin with impeccable coverage too, depending on what brush you use. If you want a little more coverage, then you'll use the sponge, or maybe you'll use a more denser packed brush. Maybe you want something more lightweight. Perhaps you did apply a tinted moisturizer with your fingers, but you want a little bit more coverage. Maybe you want it to set a little more. Use the Kett Powder Foundation. This could find itself in several roles in your makeup routine and it will not let you down, basically. And I think also the shades are really well done. I really love the medium part of the spectrum here, and that they nail olive undertones not only for the medium shades, but they also nail it for fair to medium skin. And the N2 is fair skin with neutral golden brown undertones. And the deepest shades, we have N9, deepest golden brown with neutral brown undertones. N11 is deep espresso with neutral brown undertones. And Sheila had said that she spent a lot of time on the deep shades because they can be tricky in that they could look very ashy or they could look very red. To nail golden brown and brown in a product that is marketed towards deeper complexions, I think is remarkable. And for the Studio Fix matchups, N9 is NW45, N11 is NW58. So if you're around those shade matches, then those will be the shades from the Kett Powder Foundation line. I had a blast learning more about Kett, and I am honored that Muse Beauty Pro reached out to collaborate with me because I'm not a makeup artist, not a professional. I consider myself an enthusiast and a really happy learner. And to have the opportunity to learn more about Kett Cosmetics and Sheila McKenna and where the brand came from, the reason why she created this type of a makeup and the role that it played in the makeup industry in the professional sector, I think is a compelling story, and it adds context, I think, for anyone who encounters these products and wonders why you know, their shea butter infused mica, wonders why it's called a hydro matte finish. And it's because of the history, again, of the makeup industry and its role in TV and movies. And as technology changes in the TV movie realm, in the photography realm, so does the makeup technology. And to have people like Sheila want to step up makeup evolution, makeup technology to keep up with the times, I think is inspiring, and therefore adds so much more dimension to the product in terms of what role it plays in not only a professional makeup's life, but what role it could play in yours. Let me know if you've ever used Kett, if you're a pro, if you're a consumer like myself and you still use Kett, what your experiences are, your shade matches down below for anyone looking to possibly match up with the shades that I wasn't able to swatch here, because again, I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to waste the makeup, okay? Again, a huge thank you to Muse Beauty Pro and Kett Cosmetics. I will see you down in the comments, fam. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you in here again with another review, tutorial, powder foundation extravaganza, get ready with me, or monthly favorites. Take care, and I will see you again soon.